There's so much to talk about. We're sitting, of course, in the U.S., which NBA is very familiar to U.S. audiences. And depending on where you look globally, NBA is very familiar. When you talk about it from the African continent perspective, where would you say the league is right now and the notoriety is with fans?
Now, obviously, the NBA league is growing internationally, globally. We estimate more than 1 billion fans across the world. And Africa contributes to that as well, whether it's the NBA or the BAL, which is NBA's league in Africa, which is only 5 years old. It's a young league, but we see it really growing. And we're seeing the growth mainly from a very youthful population that Africa has. Median age is 19 years. They love basketball because basketball comes with culture, with music, with entertainment. They can actually attend arena games in Africa, not just on TV or on their phones. They can actually experience it live. And so all of that together, I think, is what has contributed to the growth that we're seeing for the game, not just for NBA, which has been there for many, many years, but also for the BAL, that is a new league on the continent.
What's the challenge in getting the word out about the league for people who maybe only watch rugby or only watch football or soccer? What challenges have you found?
The way we've addressed how you integrate basketball in society has been to invest from the grassroots, because we want the young children that have never had access to the game of basketball because of limited infrastructure, limited courts in school, or limited access to smartphones or to internet or to TV. But how we address that and how we're addressing that is really by investing in a grassroots basketball development program. Today we have a program called the Junior NBA program that has touched 350,000 boys and girls in schools, giving them access to the game of basketball at a very young age. And that investment for us is what is going to keep them as lifelong fans of basketball. But it's also what is going to give them the interest to maybe play basketball professionally someday. And so when they go through this program, the next level is that we have camps that brings the best girls and boys that have demonstrated potential at basketball. We call it Basketball Without Borders. We've had people like Pascal Siakam or Joel Embiid who play in the NBA here in the US. They came through that program of Basketball Without Borders. We just came from Kigali in less than a month ago, where we had 60 boys and girls come from across the continent who play basketball, but who we think have the potential to go to the next level. But how you introduce that at a young age is something that we think allows you to get to this point. And then after that, some of them might actually want to play basketball professionally. We've seen examples of Kaman Malwach, who was the number 10 draft pick this year from South Sudan. He came through that program. He went to the NBA Academy. He played in our camps. He went to play for Basketball Africa League, playing for City Oilers and other teams of the BAL. And all of that prepared him in just a period of 4 years today to become one of the top NBA draft picks this year, and is playing in the NBA.
How much do people like him, Joel Embiid and others, help fuel the excitement around the sport and the business itself?
I think the best gift that anyone can give an African child today is to demonstrate what is possible. I think seeing role models, seeing what has been possible from circumstances similar as those that they're growing in, is the best way to actually instill this idea or this inspiration or this dream that it's possible. And so at every opportunity that we have, when we can, we share the stories of Joel Embiid, who came to our Basketball Without Border camp. We share the example of Pascal Siakam, who had no plans of being an NBA player, and look how he's thriving. But he thought he was going to be a pastor or a minister in a church. We tell stories of Kaman Malwach. We bring Chine from the WNBA to come and talk to young girls and boys. The power of example, the power of role models, for me, is the best gift you can give a child who is still trying to find their pathway in life.
And the goal isn't necessarily to turn them into or have more, or is the goal maybe to have more superstars that are playing in some of these leagues, or is it to have more talent that stays on the continent and fuel the NBA Africa League?
The way we see it as NBA Africa is that the goal is to catalyze economic development using sports and basketball in particular. And so if we are going to catalyze economic development, then we have to look at the whole ecosystem, which is beyond the court. So the court is where action takes place, but the court has very few players that are going to be playing on that court. Look at the NBA, only 500 players on the NBA in the whole world. And so the very best will go to the NBA because it's the elite league that we have. But the goal is to also develop those other opportunities that come with the investment in basketball. So there is the league, NBM, there's the BAL. We have, you can play professionally in the BAL. But there's so many jobs and opportunities around all of that. From, if you're a data analyst, if you're a marketing, expert, if you're a technology expert, if you're into AI, if you're into hospitality, restaurants, security, transportation, all those industries thrive when the league thrives. And so this is where we've seen real impact. We've seen in the first 4 years of BL being in existence, we've seen close to 40,000 jobs being created. We've seen $250 million worth of GDP in just the first 4 years playing in 4 countries. Imagine how much more we are going to do, because we are going to do it. It's not if or maybe, we're actually going to do it. Imagine how much more we're going to do when we play in 10 countries, 12 countries, 20 countries. It's going to be a huge, powerful platform for job creation, economic development, and dreams for those who want to play professionally.
How do you get there? That's ambitious.
Yes, it's ambitious, but I think the first 5 years of the BL has shown that it's possible. The first 5 years for me was a very powerful proof of concept. In the first 5 years of NBA investing in the Basketball Africa League in Africa, we've shown, that when you build infrastructure, they can be utilized well. So let's build more infrastructure, because today we estimate only about 5 countries have arenas that can actually host the NBA standard games. Let's build more of those. That is the work that we have to do. Building an arena is capital intensive. It requires investors. It requires governments to work with us. But since we've done it in some countries, let's do it in other countries. It's also going to require more, success stories being shared on what's possible, like Kaman Malwaj. So the girls and boys in school can actually tap into the potential and talent they have to make this happen. But for me, the first thing is really developing the infrastructure, because the infrastructure is what is going to open up all of this, as we've seen in countries like Senegal, South Africa, Rwanda, where jobs are being created because of Basketball Africa League.
Are you eyeing certain markets then for that expansion? Of course, we've talked about the infrastructure part of it and how critical that is. Not all countries, of course, have arenas at this point. What is NBA Africa eyeing, at least in the near term, to expand?
So first of all, we think the potential is in many countries of the African continent, but we see a momentum growing in South Africa. We've been going to play there a couple of times. The media market and the purchasing power in South Africa is quite strong, and we think that's something that can allow entertainment to be consumed. We see talent in Senegal. We see it in Nigeria. We see
as far as players.
As far as players, but also the economists consuming. We don't have an arena in Nigeria, but we know that the day we have an arena in Nigeria, it's going to be a whole different game story. We have an arena in Senegal. We have good talent in Senegal. Angola. Angola is the only country in sub-Saharan Africa that has actually won a championship of BAL. Angola they have the arenas. They have a very strong basketball culture. They've been a champion, but they've also gone to semifinals almost every year. So you can see from the basketball angle, but also from the fandom angle, they're very strong. North African countries are very strong as well. Egypt has won championship for the BAL twice. Libya just won, a team from Libya. Before that, we had Tunisia. And then in East Africa, we see Rwanda and Kenya really, coming. Rwanda has invested a lot in the sports city. We like to give it as an example because it has all the infrastructure. And it has brought its talent from a very low base, and now they finished third, which is something that you wouldn't have imagined 5 years ago. Kenya has a lot of potential as well. We have teams being invested in. I just think that today, the potential and momentum we see is at an all-time high. We haven't seen this before, and I think the future is just going to get better.
Are any of those near-term expansion plans, or are they a little bit further out? Some of those countries you were just mentioning there.
So we're working on that already now. Nairobi, Kenya, for example, had their first team last year during the BAL. Before that, they had never had a team in the BAL. And so these are terms that these are plans that we're actually already implementing. And as we go into the future, we actually hope to see more countries really come up with teams that will be playing in the league.
And you called it a startup, or was a startup. Is it still a startup, NBA Africa?
It's a more mature startup because it's now 5 years.
Okay.
In the first 5 years, and mark you, Jen, we started the BL during COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
During COVID, even though at the time I was not in the NBA, I joined the NBA about 18 months ago. I was in Rwanda hosting on behalf of the government and on behalf of the development board at the time, hosting the BAL in Rwanda, and it was during COVID. So we started during COVID, and then it's 5 years. But already when you see the growth on YouTube last year, we had about close to 4 million people watching the games on YouTube. And other than Africa, we had a lot of people watching from the US. The US is one of the markets that we actually have people watching our games through our NBA app. We've had, in terms of people that attend the games in arenas, yes, the arenas are only 4. We wish we could play in 10, 12, and we'll get there. But even with that, we've seen the number of people that go to watch games from year one grow from 45,000 to 140,000 in less than 4 years. And so that growth, that story is only going to be enabled more and more when we see investments in infrastructure, when we see investments in teams, and already the story is showing growth.
And also merchandise, right? Merchandise is a big part of it.
So yes, it's a startup. It's still 5 years old, but it's a more grown-up startup, if I could say that way, and we keep growing.
Do you see, just finally, maybe 5 years out, do you see the league being comparable to the crickets? Cricket is big on the continent, rugby is big on the continent, soccer, football is of course big. Do you see that for the league, or is it a different story?
No, I think that yes, soccer is definitely a very popular sport on the continent. But I think one advantage that basketball has is that we are actually also being popular across many countries, just like soccer. You find basketball in East Africa, you find it in West Africa and Southern Africa. You can't say the same in many other sports, but I think the fact that we are in all these countries and we have fans in all these countries, and we have a league in the continent that teams in the continent can actually participate in across the different countries. So we have 12 countries that participate in the final phase of BAL, but before that there is a qualifying phase called the Road to BAL, and another close to 10 countries participate in that. And so you have more than 20 countries participating every year, every season. And I think for me, that structure allows this fandom to actually spread across the continent in a way that is very, very interesting.